Blog Talk Radio.
Carol the Coach. Sex, love, and relationships. We talk about it here.
Carol the Coach. Compassion with contemporary relevance.
I am a psychotherapist. I can be your personal life coach, and I can help you with your issues. There are no problems too small or too big. You can talk about anything.
Speaker, columnist, radio TV host, and commentator. Carol the Coach brings messages of wellness and empowerment within reach of everyday people every day.
Almost 5 years ago, I lost my soulmate in an accident. He was killed in a plane crash. Life just, for me, has seemed to stop.
There are groups all over the city. I teach one. It is a specific way to start thinking so that you shift how you see the world, which then shifts your energy, and then you feel better and you actually see things differently.
Carol the Coach. Always available too at carolthecoach.com.
Now, I've got Russell on the line.
I'm 47 years old. I'm a truck driver. I'm married. I have a wife in San Francisco.
Okay.
I haven't been home in 6 months. My thing is, I don't know if I have a sex addiction or what the problem is. Why do I want what I can't have? And as soon as I can have it, I don't want it anymore.
You're right on target when you say, I don't know if I have a sexual addiction. Well, guess what? Yes, you do. And you know what? That's my specialty, Russell. So you're at the right place. Continue.
I meet women online, and I'm in a different part of the country. I travel all 48 states, so I love sex.
I hear self-esteem issues. You never felt good enough, and you didn't feel like you were getting what you should have then, and you're reenacting that now. Do you want to change that about yourself?
You get what you need. Oh, yeah. Oh, what a week it's been. I'm telling you. This has been something else. I know you're all feeling it. It is absolutely, positively in the atmosphere. So let's take a look at it. Because I heard in my intro that I am a commentator, and that is putting it mildly. So I know that this world is like shaking you up right now. It is rocking you to your very core. I don't know anybody who feels really comfortable with what is happening. And yet what I know to be true is our mission is twofold. It is to be kind and to help others. Right? That's a Carol the Coachism. By the way, I'm Carol the Coach, Carol Jurgensen-Sheets, and I want you to know that my message tonight is that you need to be kind and helpful. And then, two, I really believe that this is an opportunity to use reframing in ways we've never used it before. I mean, I get that some people are not going to be able to pay their rent. Some people may not be able to have food on the table. I mean, this is big stuff. And as a result, it is super important for us to help others. What does that mean? Oh, I think you know what that means. It means that you have to do your absolute best to reach out to other people while you're hunkering down in isolation and say, hey, what can I do for you? What do you need? How can I make your life more comfortable? Right? I mean, truly, that is what it's all about. It's about helping others. Patrick Carnes said it best when he said that suffering, and we are all suffering hugely, creates transformation. And that's what I'm asking you all to do, is to transform and not to let this get to you. So that once you've experienced the suffering and you've worked on the transforming, you get to give back, do that 12-step work, and ask people how you can serve. And what I said about reframing is what I believe to be really unbelievably accurate. You know, I have this saying. I'm going to move over here to it because I have it on the side of my file cabinet. Okay, now I've moved up. And it says, live in gratitude for what is next. And my prayer that I say to myself frequently, it's a shame that I couldn't just recite it from memory. I have to think about doing that. Is, dear Lord, use me, move me, take me where I can reflect you. Put words in my mouth and at my hand that will facilitate you. I resist nothing because I have faith that you have me, and I am ready. Okay, that may sound a bit hokey or a bit Pollyannish, but I also believe, and certainly talked about this yesterday. I'm creating a YouTube on it tonight after I get done with the podcast. There's something wrong with me. I can't stop working. I love helping others feel better. So I don't mean that really. There's not anything wrong with me, but I am a bit of a workaholic. But to be a workaholic means I have to love what I do, right? And I love what I do. And so one of the things that I received a couple days ago from Hay House, Hay House is a publishing company, but they do more than publish books. They're an inspirational company. And this incredible woman who didn't even start her own publishing company till she was 60, Louise Hay, who had written an amazing book called You Can Heal Your Life. And that was really through thought and your mind and affirmations. One of her quotes is, all is well. Everything is working out for my highest good. Out of this situation, only good will come. Now, if you don't have enough food on your table and you've lost your job, you're working in the restaurant industry right now, and, they've said, hey, we're not open for at least the next 3 weeks. You are in the service industry, you're working your butt off to feed the kids, and now you found out that your hours are going to be cut. I know that is life and death stuff. And so I don't want to make light of the struggles. But I promise you, if you use reframing and you say to yourself, okay, what good can come out of this incredible health crisis that we have right now? I mean, really, when you think of COVID-19, possibly be positive about that. Well, I say, for me, it may actually get me to slow down. Wouldn't that be interesting? Or it may get me to look at how I can help my neighbor. I've got an agoraphobic, alcoholic next-door neighbor. I can be assured she is not listening to this show right now. And she won't let me help her. I call her, check in with her, nothing. I let her know when we're having get-togethers over here, in part because I want to make sure that my friends and family don't park and block her in her driveway, although she never goes out. I try to be a good neighbor, and nothing comes of it. But with all this going down, I thought I'm just going to put a card in her door and let her know I'm thinking of her. Her name's Kelly. Really a nice woman, but very hard to reach, very alcoholic. I remember one day I was letting my dog Boo Bear out. Many of you met Boo Bear on my YouTube videos. For any of you that don't know, I have YouTube videos, over 100 of them, on sex addiction, partner trauma, and working through the coupleship. And they're really kind of cool because they're 6, 8, 10 minutes long at most. And I don't share a lot about me on purpose. I just feel like I want you to know that it's all about you. But I do share my dog Boo on my YouTubes. So I'll have just the funnest people that'll leave me a message because they're wanting to work with me, and they'll say, "Hello, Carol. I'm calling you from the UK. Oh, by the way, tell Boo Bear I said hello." And I kind of giggle because I know that he really is cute as can be. Well, anyway, I was letting Boo out. It was about 12:15. I had been working on a project. It was late. And Kelly getting her mail. Why? Well, because it was 12 o'clock. She had been drinking, and she knew she wasn't going to have to see anybody. So this must be the day I'm just going to do impressions for you, because I saw Kelly, and I said, "Hey, Kelly, how's it going?" And she goes, "You better get that dog out." And I'm like, "What, Kelly? You better get that dog in." Well, I was quick enough to realize she was saying, "You better get your dog in." And then she says, "There's coyotes here." And I said, "Coyotes." Well, literally, she was telling me, take care of your dog. There are coyotes in our neighborhood, which I did know. But I'm sure she sees a lot more of them because she is up at night and asleep during the day. Well, that's a long story to say that this is just somebody I really feel compelled to reach out to. And I'm going to challenge you. Who do you feel compelled to reach out to through this crisis? Or how might you go ahead and make some money? I had 3 friends that came over Thursday night for cocktails. I know a lot of you don't drink, but on occasion I do. And all 3 of them have been laid off on Thursday. And so we were talking about ways to make money, and one woman said, "Well, you know what? Nobody's able to find those masks." And I'm a seamstress, and I thought about, cool, if I made polyester masks, because viruses are much less likely to get into them. And I said, that is a great idea. And then there was another good idea. I can't remember what it was, but it's a time for us to be creative and to work through some of the understandably difficult situations. I remember what the other thing was. We need healthy people who can provide daycare, be nannies, come to the home and take care of some of the kids while mom and or dad are working. Now, I was talking to a woman about that, and she said, but we don't want anybody who would be a perpetrator. Well, what I know to be true is that the people I know, be it friends or clients, are not perpetrators. So I just think that's another way that perhaps you could make some money. Call your church. Say, I'm willing to be a nanny for somebody, take in some kids, not run a daycare, but just through this crisis period. So it's time to use reframing and ask yourself 2 really important questions. The first one is, hey, how can this virus and my situation help me to grow stronger? And more importantly, what do I have to learn from the situation? What is this going to teach me? Not only do I want to see myself as a survivor, but I want to see myself as a thriver. And by that, I'm going to ask you, how might this virus help improve your sense of family, your coupleship, your ability to get to your community? What can you do to get outside of yourselves? Because if you are an addict in good recovery, it's all about not being self-centered or selfish. And if you're a partner who's been traumatized, sometimes it can help to focus on somebody else when your whole world has been rocked upside down. And that's why I was super excited to be talking with Forest Benedict today, because in such a timely way, Forrest was announcing the fact that he had a variety of online groups that he wanted to talk about with our professional listserv. And so there is no doubt Forrest is quite the author. He wrote Life After Lust, and he has been somebody who is an out-of-the-box thinker. And everything he has been through has helped him to know what you need. And so I said, Forrest, I want you to come on. I want you to talk about these online groups. What are you offering? Tell me about the different types of groups that you want to have. And you can always talk about life after lust, stories and strategies for sex and pornography addiction recovery. It's an excellent book, and he really has been through a lot. And he really tries to serve individuals and couples and groups through his online private practice in California. So he indulged me. He said, absolutely, Carol, I would love to talk about the groups, especially right now when we're experiencing such crisis and this pandemic has really affected people's safety. They don't feel safe to get in groups where they're going to be with 10, 15 other people. And, we're being ordered to stay home as much as possible. So can't wait to talk about his recovery resources and the fact that they're fully online. And so I'm going to welcome him to Sex Help with Carol the Coach. Hey, Forrest, it's good to have you on again.
Hey, Carol, it's so great to be here with you again.
Absolutely. And you and I both know that these are anxious times, and our clients in general, they're strong, but they're also fragile. They've been through a lot. And when I heard of everything that you are doing as an online therapist and coach, I said, Forrest is there to really provide resources to accommodate what our clients are going through. And so I wanted you to talk a little bit about what you're doing, because your work is entirely online, is it not?
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, my private practice is all online in California, and then I'm starting to do some coaching worldwide, all online as well.
And so you got to tell me, what inspired you to leave a physical office and go fully online? Because I know a lot of people would love to do that.
Yeah, well, it's kind of interesting. Our youngest, our 6-year-old son, was having some pretty severe health issues when we were living there in California in the Central Valley. And we decided to move up to Washington. And right after we decided that, I was invited to leave my job at that time. And so it just made sense to go online. I had already been researching that modality quite a bit. And, I'm licensed in California, and we were moving to another area completely. And so it just made sense to go online entirely. And it was definitely a learning experience, but it's worked out great. And I've been able to build an online practice as well as program that serves people throughout California, and been able to do it from my home here in Washington. It's really been a great thing.
Well, and so because I don't exactly understand how you might do that, I do know that coaches can work worldwide on the internet, and they can also work via the phone. And you are a coach. So are you a telehealth clinician or a coach, or both?
I'm both. Yeah, my private practice, which is, I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist in California. So all of my clients have to be in California for my therapy practice and my Life After Lust program. However, I'm doing coaching and about to launch a new coaching program worldwide as a coach. And of course, that would be different than treatment, but it's meant to be very supportive. So yeah, you're right. You have to be aware of the legalities, of where we can do treatment and where we can't. But doing it through these different modalities in different places is a way that I've figured out to make it work.
Well, I know what you mean. I mean, clearly, I'm a mental health therapist of 40 years, and I'm a coach. And just by offering this podcast, I have people that want to work with me across the world. And certainly I can't do telehealth, but so much of what we do is instructional, and it is consultation, and it is coaching. And you can do that without having any specific licensure, but the School of Hard Knocks and maybe a book, or as you said, a course, and you've got them both. And so tell us a little bit about the services that you actually provide.
Yeah, so like I mentioned, I have the Life After Lust program, which is in California, and that is a therapy program aimed, to help people go deep into their recovery, and that's focused on sex addiction recovery as well. And then I'm starting a new group, a new program online, which would be a coaching program called Heroes in Recovery. And that, we'll probably talk a little bit more about that, but I'm excited to really provide that worldwide. And, honestly, it seems very meaningful to me to provide that right now because I'm making it severely low cost. And my hope is that people all over the world, with all of the uncertainties and all the things we're struggling with right now, would find it to be a very supportive opportunity to connect and to work their recovery. And then I do also have a group that I've been leading over a year now through Rob Weiss's website, and that's a free group. And he provides they provide a lot of free groups. But I've been doing that free group with maybe 20 plus guys for over a year now, and that's meaningful too. I really love doing this work, and it's been really great. So I'm happy to do that.
Okay, so we'll come back to that. But obviously there are some inherent benefits of online therapy and coaching. And so you talked about the very benefit to you that when you moved and you had a child with special needs, it afforded you an opportunity to be there for your child, as well as obviously move from state to state and still be able to provide services. What are the benefits to the clients of online therapy and coaching?
Yeah, well, an apparent benefit right now is, not getting sick and not getting others sick. So there's that physical safety component right now. But generally, accessibility is a big thing. Some people aren't in an area that has a specialist that meets their needs and that will provide what they need. So accessibility, you can reach the people that are going to help you the most. Convenience is a big one. People can access resources on their phone or on a computer. And cost too, it's actually, when you factor in not needing to travel to therapy or take time off work to go to therapy or time away from your family, that's helpful. Connection is a big piece as well. I found my groups really do connect with each other, even though they're not, meeting physically in the same space. And that's been really great. And, another piece is privacy. And, I'm definitely all for meetings and therapy, but, some people don't feel like they can walk in the door of certain places. And this gives them a chance to sorry, I had a little one walk in on me there. This gives them a chance to get services without needing to do that. And, of course, it's confidential, just like all services. But also it's effective, and there's actually been some research around this. And, I looked into that before doing this to make sure it's still effective. But I've found it to be really effective as well, and it's been great being able to provide services and see people get the help that they need through this. So it's worked out really well.
Okay, so now explain how it may be confidential. Tell me a little bit about that.
How it's confidential?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, definitely as a therapist, everything that we do is confidential. I make sure on my end to be in a place where nobody can hear me. I make that happen. When people are in a group, confidentiality really is the center, the foundation of it. It's super important. And that's just emphasized. It's really, I don't think any recovery work or any therapy really works well without confidentiality. And I will say too that the technology that I use is HIPAA compliant. Like there's things on my end that I have to be really careful about to make sure I'm providing a service that keeps everybody's information and life and privacy safe.
Totally get that. And so when I was asking about confidentiality, I know that there are some formats. For instance, if somebody says, hey, can we Skype? I say no, because I don't use a HIPAA compliant Skype. To my knowledge, there is not one today.
No,
but I do use
I don't think
Zoom, which is HIPAA compliant. And then I have a webmaster who has made my entire transmission HIPAA compliant. So anytime I look at my screen, I see the little lock that reminds me that people cannot get into my encrypted Zoom room or my emails or things like that. And so do you think that online work is as confidential as being in the room with 8 other people?
Yeah, definitely. I emphasize that the client has to be in a confidential place. I've had some clients, they weren't able to talk in the house, so they are out in the meeting in their car, because that's the most confidential and private place. And I'm the same way. Like we have to be really making this a high priority. Well, it's illegal really if it's not confidential. That has to be a confidential space, and having our stuff stored in a confidential way. It all has to be a part of the mix, or else we can't really do this legally. So yeah, it's definitely a confidential experience, although just like any group, all the members are trusting each other to, as far as confidentiality is concerned, to really hold their information, sacredly, to not share what's said in group. And so that's always, I guess, a risk in a way that people trust each other when they do groups. But it works out, I think, pretty well.
And what would you say is the difference between online therapy and coaching?
Yeah, that's a great question. And I've had to do a lot of looking into this, just for the legality of it and to make sure I'm helping my clients the best that I can. And so, one of the big pieces that I've found is that, with therapy, we can work on trauma, we can work on, the past, understanding how the past affects the present, and, do a lot more of that type of work. Whereas in coaching, it's a lot more focused on the present. It's a lot more focused on goals, and, like we can still provide tools and still provide, education. And, I find actually, even as a therapist, that I kind of have a coaching type mentality, because I just have a really strong belief in my clients, and just like I feel like I'm a coach too. I'm certainly, as a therapist, we do some coaching as well. But those are the main things. Like, I'm studying IFS right now, and with my therapy clients, I can really guide them through a lot of IFS treatment, really getting into their trauma and helping them heal. Whereas like in my coaching group, I definitely want to introduce those concepts to really help people connect more deeply with themselves, but we won't be going into the actual, treatment. It would be more like learning some tools or learning, some of the concepts. And so I'm very cautious to keep myself from, doing therapy and calling it coaching. I think I just can't make that. None of us can do that,
Absolutely. And so, do you think there's any limitations to online therapy or coaching that you've seen?
Well, yeah. I mean, since you're not in the room with the person, there could be some things that you might miss that you would catch if you were in the room with them. Like I haven't found it to be too problematic, or I can't think of an instance where it was really a problem. But there's also part of that's actually a positive too, though, because you're actually seeing clients in their living space, so you are really getting more information, just from that alone. And, as far as groups are concerned, like my groups in the past, my physical groups have, hugged each other at the end of the meeting. And so, that's not possible. They could give a fist bump through the screen or something, but, the touch component's not there. But those are a couple of things. But, overall, I found it to work really well.
Okay, so now you are launching this new coaching program worldwide, and you referenced it earlier. It's called Heroes in Recovery. Can you share with us what inspired that name, and what do people do that sign up for Heroes in Recovery?
Yeah, that name, I gave it that name because, there's a couple reasons. One of them is one of the things I'm doing for that program is interviewing some of my heroes in recovery and getting some of their recovery wisdom. I've done an interview with Stacy Sprout and with Jeff Stewart, and I have other people on my list that I hope to talk to. But I just love the idea of bringing in the perspective of people that are other, heroes in recovery and in this field. And then the other piece to it too is kind of really how I've really developed to understand recovery. At least, like you said, I kind of think outside the box, but I do feel like, part of, especially from like an IFS perspective, like a big part of recovery is us learning to become our own heroes. Like learning to take care of all the parts of ourselves that in the past we disowned or we rejected or we consider our enemies. And, a big part of recovery is learning to, find them and heal them and kind of, instead of hating ourselves, learning to love ourselves and in that sense kind of becoming our own heroes. So I wanted people to see themselves as their own heroes in that sense. And so I feel like it's a meaningful name, and I hope, it's not meant to, make people think like, they're, be more narcissistic or be like, wow, I'm all that. Like you were talking about earlier, it's not about becoming more selfish, but it is really about becoming your own hero and, fighting for your own freedom.
Well, and again, I think the heroes that you're referencing that I happen to know are just like you. They think out of the box, and because of that, provide services to populations that wouldn't necessarily have services, and they really are amazing professionals. And so I love the fact that there's this Heroes in Recovery. Now, who is Heroes in Recovery designed to help? I mean, who's your population here?
Yeah, well, I always remember women that they're definitely a group that needs services. However, I have not found a lot of women coming to me for help. So I just want to say if women, if there's a need to serve women, through Heroes in Recovery, I'm all for that. But this group for now will be for men over 18, definitely for people, anywhere in the world. And, something, I'll say it's for people that are wanting to start recovery or strengthen their recovery or even just maintain their recovery. Also, this is something I'm testing out to see if it, see how it works. But I want to open it up to people with all addictions. Even though my specialty is sex addiction, I feel like the tools and the community can be very supportive of a lot of people. And so I think that's something I'm going to try out is making it open to all addictions. And then, I will mention it's not faith-based or 12-step based specifically, but like everybody's welcome. And I really hope that people of all backgrounds and belief systems can feel very comfortable there.
Well, and so, you mentioned that it's not necessarily faith-based, and yet you are very faith-based. So tell me a little bit about, just for a second, your incredible book, because it has been such a godsend for many people. And of course, I'm referring to Life After Lust, Stories and Strategies for the Sex and Pornography Addiction Recovery. Tell people who may not know about the book what that book is about and how it also highlights, I would say, that theme of the hero in everyone.
Yeah. You know what? It's funny. We're going on, that book was published almost exactly 3 years ago, and tomorrow's my recovery anniversary. So that's when it was published. And, the book was written as kind of a compilation of a lot of the writing that I'd done, as well as adding some additional writings. And, it really is meant to be very supportive of recovery, but it's also meant to be an inspirational book. There's a lot of stories and a lot of stuff I share from my own recovery, and it's organized really effectively. People have found, I've gotten feedback from people that, they appreciate all the mindsets and all the tools to practice. And so, I continue to use that book in my program. I feel like some of my views have changed since I wrote that book. However, that's how it probably goes for every author as they develop and grow. But there's a lot of tools in there still that are things that I consider to be really essential pieces of recovery. And so, the book, I don't know how many have sold, but it's been thousands, and it's helped a lot of people throughout the years. So, I'm grateful for all the people men and women, and, really everybody that have embraced recovery because of it, and, become heroic in the way that they, fight for themselves and fight for their kids and for their families, and, work to change the world. So writing the book definitely changed my life and helped me deal with way more issues than I thought I would ever have to deal with. So it's been great.
Well, I know, and it's like you're also so timely. Clearly, we're in a situation right now with the COVID virus, and people are scared, and they're isolated, and there's that fear of the unknown, and the anxiety is off the charts. And you are providing these online groups, both therapy and coaching, to help people find connection, support, and find the skills they need to reduce that anxiety. So tell me a little bit about what advice you have for people who may be working with it. Due to the virus concerns, they just want to take a break. What would you tell them to do?
Yeah, well, I think, there's still so many opportunities to continue to get the help that they're getting. And, I know most mental health professionals definitely can do telehealth, so I would encourage them to at least ask if that's an option. But I think, there's so much that's being stirred up right now for all of us, and it's just essential to get the help that we need and know that there's tools and know that there's lots of people that care and that have skills and abilities, and that nobody's left alone in this, that there are resources, and even if their therapist hasn't asked them if they want to do telehealth, I encourage them to ask and see what's available, because it affects more than just us. I mean, certainly we're worth it as well, but a lot of us have our kids home for the next weeks or months or whatever, and so even with that in mind, I think it's super important that we take care of our mental health so that we can be there for our kids and really make it through this, because it's just such a difficult time with a lot of unknowns, and yet I think we can still find some peace amidst it and some healing, and really I think it's a great opportunity to do a lot of healing and find some connection as well.
Oh, absolutely. And, it is a time when you can feel sorry for yourself, whether your job has been limited, maybe you've actually lost it 100%, or I know for me, I had a book opportunity in Italy, and I'd never been to Europe. I couldn't wait, and of course that got canceled, and I had my first book signing set up with ITAP in May, and now we're going to do it virtually. For anybody who doesn't know, ITAP is that organization that it's an institute that helps educate CSAT, Certified Sexual Addictions Therapists. That got canceled, but then what I started thinking, Forrest? I thought, these are all opportunities that I really wanted. I wanted to take advantage of them, and I figured it was my time, and I was so looking forward to that. But the truth of the matter is, I've got clients that have bar mitzvahs planned. I've got clients that are getting married, and now their big dreams have been thwarted. And that loss is, just doesn't, my loss does not compare to theirs. And so we're always looking at, opportunities to turn that around and find something good in it, because I am a believer that it is our attitudes that are going to get us through this crisis. And why not feel happier as opposed to resentful? It just doesn't serve the world to be resentful. So tell me one thing that you think the virus has done situationally in your life to make you a better person.
Well, that's a great question. And by the way, I'm sorry about your inconveniences and your losses as well. But also, I mean, those would have been really exciting opportunities, and it's just part of the unknowns, part of what's happening. But I think the main thing for me, like I mentioned, that I've started to study internal family systems and started the training just recently. And for me, one of the concepts in internal family systems, they use the word tormentors. That these are people in our life that trigger us, or situations that trigger us, and they kind of break the word up and into tor and then mentor. That the word mentor is in the word tormentor, and so it's those things that trigger us, but it shows us. It becomes our mentor. It becomes this opportunity to see something really valuable. And it's for me, that's the things inside of me that I didn't know need healing. It mentors me to the things that still need my attention inside of me. And so I've been able to do a lot of IFS work in my own heart and working with my own trauma. And that it definitely has been related to the virus too. Like a few weeks ago, I was triggered and going out and stockpiling food and like in this really anxious place, and then had to just stop and go within and figure out what parts of me were triggered and connect with myself, which in IFS we all have this self that has these amazing qualities of like calmness and clarity and courage and connection and creativity. And I mean, for me, that's so hopeful because like we can connect with this self in us that can really give us so much of what we need to survive and thrive through this difficult time. So that's been something that's been going on for me, and then being able to help clients as well, because certainly as we do the work, we can help others in similar ways. And so and I do love having my kids home too. Like we just got back from being outside and throwing around the football. So like I think there's a lot of great opportunities for interconnection with ourselves as well as outer connection with others. And so yeah, I've experienced both sides of that, just feeling like I'm going crazy with all the uncertainty in the world, and then ushering that into an opportunity to really self-connect and really get a lot of great healing. So that's been my experience.
Well, that makes a lot of sense. And, you can hear a special tone of voice as you speak about the kids. So I know that they bring you great joy. Parenting is the toughest thing in the world, but you can really hear the connection in your voice.
Yeah, thank you. No, and they're so special to me. And, I definitely would say from experience as a parent that the more healing we do, the better we can do our jobs as parents, especially in times like this when even as parents, like we don't have all the answers. We're, far from it. We don't know what's going to happen tomorrow. So, the more work we can do. And I've been thinking a lot lately about our mortality, like today with our kids and today with the people we love is really all we got guaranteed to us is today in this moment. So I think there's a profound opportunity to enjoy each moment that we have with those people.
I'm 100% with you. So I wanted to talk for a second about your resources, and I want to remind our listening audience of two things. One is I'm going to tell you a little bit about how you can sign up for the incredible online group that Forest is starting, and I want to find out a little bit more about the other resources. And so his email is Forest Benedict, which is BENEDICTLMFT @gmail.com. And if you want to ask him more about his online services, you can go there and send him an email, or you can go to his website. And that obviously is www.forestbenedict.com. And he is the author of Life After Lust, Stories and Strategies for Sex and Pornography Addiction Recovery. And he has a lot of groups. I mean, he does this totally online. So he has groups specifically for you. And again, for somebody who can't afford a group, you're referencing the group that you actually facilitate for Rob Weiss. And what time and how can they get into that group?
Yeah, if they go to sexandrelationshiphealing.com, there's a list of lots of groups, for lots of people, male addicts, female addicts, partners, LGBTQ
therapists,
population,
coaches.
Everything. Yeah, tons and tons of groups, which is going to be highly utilized, I'm sure, during this time. And so that's there, and my group's on Sunday night. I'm probably going to have Heroes in Recovery on Sunday night as well before my other group, just because it seems to be a really convenient time for people. And that group will also be really low cost. It'll be less than $50 a month, and that's for weekly groups. So I really am trying to make it accessible to almost anyone. But regardless of whether they get help with me or somewhere else, I really just want people to know that there's tons of online resources, and this can be a time where you continue to work great recovery and connect with great resources. This isn't a time to disconnect just because of the situation.
And are your prices on the website?
No, I don't list my prices on the website, but I'm happy to talk with anyone if they ask. But I just shared the price of Heroes in Recovery, which is a little less than $50 a month.
You weren't supposed to.
Oh, sorry.
Great. That's okay. That is a great group. I mean, price. And absolutely, Forrest, in some ways, you're getting less per group than a babysitter gets. So that is a steal deal. You didn't hear it on the show because it's against the law to do that on the air. But
sorry.
No, that's okay. If you didn't hear him correctly, you can always email him or myself. And again, you can reach him at Forest Benedict, BENEDICT LMFT. That stands for Licensed Marriage and Family Therapist, at gmail.com. And Forest is spelled with one R. And, this obviously is an opportunity for people to get some good resources at a steal deal price. And you are so talented that I hope that people take advantage of this, because most people charge 4, 5, 6, 7 times the price for one group, let alone for the whole month.
Yeah. And I really did want people to feel like they could get the help they needed,
I just want to remind people, too, that it is so important that if you want to know more about Forrest, go to his website as well as get his book. I know, Forrest, the last time I had you on, I got a lot of really positive comments. Life After Lust has been really well received. It's super readable. As you said, it's got lots of stories, your own personal stories, and it has a lot of strategies for how to get through this process and learn how to manage both porn and sex addiction, as opposed to porn and sex addiction managing you. So I would encourage our listeners to also get that book. And where can they find that?
Yeah, that's on Amazon. And I also have the audiobook out, and so that's everywhere that you can find an audiobook, on Audible and all kinds of places. So that's available, but the main place is Amazon for the physical copy or the Kindle copy of that book.
Got it. Well, I thank you so much. I am I'm going to be looking forward to hearing what people think about your online services. I admire the fact providing this. You and I both know that there are so many areas of the world, right here in our country, but certainly the world, where they've never even heard of sex addiction or porn addiction, let alone have 12-step meetings or therapists that are specialists or coaches that know what they're doing. So you are really providing a valuable service, and I want to thank you for that.
Thank you, Carol. I'm really grateful to do it, and grateful that I could share that with people tonight. All
right. You take care and keep me posted on all the important work you're doing. Thanks, Forrest.
All right. Thank you. Take care. Take care, everyone.
You too. Bye-bye. Okay, so that was really interesting because, again, a steal deal of a price. He's got a lot of wisdom, and the antidote for addiction is connection. So if you're feeling isolated or you know you need something to bump up your recovery, I highly recommend his groups. Amazing. So I will see you next week. We're going to get through this crisis together. I want you to ask yourself how you can use reframing and how you can be kind and help somebody else. And we'll talk to you soon. You know, there will only be one of you at all times, and I fearlessly want you to have the courage to be yourself. Make it a good one.